everybody, welcome to the world of Babe Hair Extensions. I'm Carrie Fuller, Director of Education for Babe, and in this DVD we're going to give you everything that you need to get started and excited about working with hair extensions. We're going to cover the history of hair extensions. We're going to cover the benefits of using Babe. We're also going to talk about each method that we have to offer and which one of those methods is going to be the best for each one of your clients. We're going to cover the installation, removal, and maintenance of each one of those methods. And we're also going to give you some tips and tricks on how to boost your revenue in the salon when working with extensions. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's look at the history and overview of extensions. First of all, our hair extensions are sourced from India. We use only 100% human Remy hair. Let's talk about what Remy hair is. Remy hair means that all of the cuticle imbrications of the hair are all sloping in the same direction, and the same direction as they would normally grow from the scalp. Non-Remy hair has cuticle imbrications that are sloping different directions, and when we're working with that type of hair, we're going to get matting and tangling. With our hair extensions, because of them being 100% Remy hair, we get no matting and no tangling over the course of the extension life. We use an integrity-focused approach when we're coloring and processing our extensions. We use a 45-day processing period to achieve all of the colors that we have on our swatch ring. This way we keep the integrity of the hair intact through that processing period. Babe has 4 different methods of hair extensions. We offer tape-in, I-tip, fusion, and we also have clip-in extensions. Babe is also sold through a distributor network. And what does that mean? It means that a stylist can't go online and purchase our hair individually. It has to be purchased through a distributor. One of the benefits of purchasing through a distributor is that we have a large team of educators that are very skilled and helpful and teach classes and offer lots of education and support for the brand. We also have available online education and courses. If you visit our website at www.babethings.com, you can take a look at the online education that we have to offer. It gives great detail about the different methods and installations available. So let's look at each one of our methods individually. First of all, let's look at our tape-in extensions. Our tape-in extensions are used with a mini weft. The mini weft is a polyurethane template, and the hair is stitched into that mini weft. That means that the hair is not going to slip or slide out of the weft. Tape-in extensions are great for those clients that have been used to wearing clip-in extensions. These are going to lay very flat to the head. They're going to be very comfortable for the client to wear. There are approximately 2.5 to 3 grams of hair per weft, giving us a lot of weight. What does that mean when we're using the tape-in extensions? It means that we're going to be able to build weight, increase fullness and thickness in the hair very, very quickly. We're also going to be able to cover and hide any hard lines in the client's hair very easily with our tape-in extensions. Then let's go to our individual strands. We have 2 individual strand methods. We have our I-tip method and we also have our fusion method. Let's look at our I-tip method first. Our I-tip strands contain approximately 1 gram of hair per strand. They are also pre-tipped with a keratin bond. They are placed into the hair with a small aluminum bead. Because of the way that they are placed in the hair, they're great for clients who have never worn extensions before, or anybody that's worried about any chemicals or adhesives being placed into the hair. They're also very mobile and very flexible in the hair. Now let's look at our fusion extensions. Our fusion extensions are similar to our I-tip extensions. They also contain 1 gram of hair per strand. They are just going to be a lot more permanent of an extension than the I-tips will be. If you look at our tip, the tip is a protein keratin bond which is fused into the hair, which provides a longer lasting hold of the extension. The nice thing about these extensions is that that tip is customizable. We can cut it down, we can cut it in half, we can make it as small as we need to so that it can be worn on any hair type. They're great for looking the most natural and being the longest wearing of our extensions. So let's talk about the difference of using a weft extension versus a single strand extension. The weft extensions are going to be great to build weight and thickness and fullness and length in the hair very quickly. The single strand extensions are going to be really good for those clients that need or want the flexibility and mobility in their hair. If they like to wear their hair up a lot every single day or pull it back every single day, they may prefer the flexibility of the single strand versus the tape-in method. We also like to promote a combination method where sometimes we will do a tape-in method or the weft method in the bottom and then add in a single strand method in the front by using our fusion or our I-tip in the front so that when they pull that hair back, it's a lot more manageable. Okay, so now we're ready to install our extensions. For this section, we're going to talk about our installation, maintenance, and removal of each one of the different types of methods. We're going to go ahead and start with our tape-in extensions. So we have our mannequin head here to go ahead and demonstrate on. So to start with our tape-in extensions, you're going to need our tape-in hair, and then you're also going to need one of our quick pick parters. The quick pick parter is used on any one of the fingers to part the hair very easily. Also, we're going to need our replacement tape for removal and for maintenance. We need our single-sided tape for our thin-haired clients, which I'll demonstrate how to use. And then we're also going to need our tape-in bond remover. It's an oil-based remover which is used to remove the tape-in extensions from the hair and reduce the gunky and stickiness that's left in the hair after that removal. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and part a section on our mannequin. So I'm going to take one of my clips, I'm going to part off my section of hair, making sure that I keep that section nice and clean as I'm working. I want to make sure that I keep any and all flyaways away from that section that I'm working on. I'm going to go ahead and put my parter onto my finger. I prefer to use it on my pinky finger for easy parting. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my tape-in extension and get ready to install it. When I'm installing, I want to make sure that I peel away those adhesive tabs, making sure not to touch the adhesive part of the weft. The more that I touch that adhesive part, the more oil I put onto my fingers and the less staying power it will have on the hair. So I want to remove those adhesive tabs, and I want to apply that extension approximately 1/4 to 1/2 inch away from the scalp. I never want to apply that directly on my part line. Doing so places that extension too close to the scalp and causes too much tension to be placed on the hair at that scalp. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop that extension 1/4 to 1/2 inch away from the scalp, place my thumbs on top of it, and press down firmly. One of the nice things about our brand is that when you lift the hair, it will pick up just the right amount of hair that we need for the section in between those two wefts. I elevate it, cleaning up any and all stray hairs from the underneath so that I don't have any hairs that don't belong. And then I'm going to take my second weft, remove those adhesive tabs, making sure again not to touch that weft, and line it up with the top weft from the underneath. Make sure that my corners are lined up properly. Once I like the way that it's placed on, then I just simply press down with my thumbs and secure the two wefts together. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and demonstrate the use of our single-sided tape. So I'm going to go ahead and turn our mannequin so we can get a better view. Now for the first weft, everything is exactly the same. So we're going to go ahead and remove the adhesive tabs from that weft, being sure not to touch the adhesive with our fingers. We're going to apply the weft 1/4 to 1/2 inch away from the scalp and press down with our thumbs. As we lift the extension, it's going to pick up as much hair as we need in between that section. So we're going to lift it up and we're going to secure it with another clip. Then we're going to go ahead and take our single-sided tape and remove it from the backing card. Our single-sided tape is sticky only on one side. It has a plastic backing on the opposite side. Then we're going to apply that single-sided tape to the back side of our weft to secure that weft and hold it in place. Line up both edges so that it's secure and not overlapping from one side to the other. Press it together, drop it, and press it down a second time. That will ensure that it's properly secure with each other. So for the maintenance of our tape-in extensions, your client is going to come in every 6 to 8 weeks. During that time frame, their extensions will have grown out. You're going to need to remove them and reinstall them. For the removal process, we use our tape-in remover. It's an oil-based remover which helps to remove the stickiness and tackiness from the hair that's left in there from the extensions very quickly. So to use it, it's very simple. All we do is go across the weft, putting 4 or 5 dots across the top. We're gonna rub that in, and then we're gonna peel those wefts apart from each other. We want to try to peel the top weft away from the bottom, from the top down. So we just loosen it slightly, and we peel it away. We want to make sure that the adhesive stays on the weft, that it does not stay stuck in the hair. However, if it does stay stuck in the hair, all you need to do is use a little extra of your remover and comb it free with a tail comb. Once those wefts are removed from the hair, then we want to make sure that we remove all of the old adhesive from those wefts. So we simply come in and remove that with our fingernail. Just lift the edge of it and peel it off. Okay. Once that adhesive is removed, then we're ready to clarify the hair and clarify the client's hair for reinstall. Okay, so once the hair has been thoroughly clarified and dried, we're ready to go ahead and retape the extension and place it back into the hair. So we're going to use our replacement tape for that. We take the replacement tape, we peel it off of the card that it's on, being sure to only touch the edges of that replacement tape. What we don't want to do is place it onto our fingers where we're trying to get it adjusted for proper application. And placing it onto the extension, lining it up with both sides, and pressing it down. Now it's ready to go back into the hair. The next method that we're going to install is our I-tip extensions. For our I-tip extensions, we just need a few simple tools. First, we need our Lux tool, which is used to remove and install the extensions. Then we also need our quick pick parter, again to part the hair. We also need our loop tool, which is what we put all of the beads on to install them into the hair. And then we also need the color of beads that matches the client's natural hair color. Each jar contains 100 Microlock beads. All right, so now we're ready to go ahead and install them into the hair. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna part a section, again, making a nice clean line in the hair, making sure to keep any and all strays out of that part line. We're gonna put our quick pick parter onto our finger, and we're ready to part the section of hair that we're going to work with. We want to make sure that we are taking a section that is a nice square section. A reference would be about 1/4 of an inch wide by 1/4 of an inch tall. Now, we take that section to start with, and we're gonna clean up any and all stray hairs from that section. And then we want to make sure that that section is the same density or thickness as the extension that we're working with and that we're putting into the hair. They need to be equal. If the section that we're working with is too thin, the section of hair that we're working with will slide out of the hair easier, or it can also cause breakage from the hair. If our section of hair that we're working with is too thin and will not support the weight of the extension that we're going to apply to it, then we can take that section longer. We would never want to increase the width of that section, however, that would put added stress and tension on the hair by being over-directed into the bead. So if we need to, we can take that section a little bit longer to increase the thickness or the density of the section that we're working with. The goal when we're installing these extensions is to make sure that the bead ends up at the bottom of the section that we're working with, or the bottom of the part line. That will ensure an off-base placement, again making sure that we are maintaining the integrity of the hair and an integrity-focused approach. So we're gonna go ahead and take our section of hair that we're working with, and we're gonna take our loop tool and slide that section of hair inside of that loop tool, making sure that we keep the loop tool up close to the scalp. Then we simply take one of the beads and we slide it all the way up and off of that loop tool, and you can see that it threads the hair right through the bead. As we slide that bead up to the scalp, we want to make sure that there is no hair bunched around it. Place it at the bottom of the part line, and we're ready to put the extension in. We take our I-tip extension, we slide it into the bead, and then we position our fingers at a 0-degree angle, making sure that there is no elevation on that hair or that extension. So we want to hold it down totally flat at 0 degrees. Then we're going to take our lock tool, we're going to slide it up and pull the extension down till it's just inside of the bead, and we clamp it shut in the center. So after we secure it in the center, we want to make sure that we secure it on both edges as well to make sure that it's completely secure in the hair. So we take our Lux tool and we're going to clamp on this side. And we're also going to turn it on the opposite side and crimp the opposite side. I also like to crimp it once in the center again, just for good luck to make sure that it's in there. We want to make sure that there is no extension protruding out of the top of the bead. If there's extension protruding out of the top of the bead, it can tangle all of the hair inside of it and cause breakage. Also, when the client lays down, it can press into the scalp and feel like little needles poking them in the scalp. So we want to make sure that there's nothing sticking out of the top of the bead. We also want to make sure that it's laying totally flat and not elevated away from the hair, causing an over-direction. So for the maintenance of our I-tip extensions, your client's gonna come back in about every 8 to 10 weeks. That I-tip extension will be grown down away from the scalp. To remove it, all you need is just our Lux tool, the same tool that we used to apply the extensions. Within our Lux tool, there is a circular part of the tool. It is made specifically for the removal of the I-tip extensions. So it's very easy. All we do is take that extension, turn it onto its side, place that extension inside of the circle part of that tool, and gently press until that is back in its original circular form, and then we simply slide it from the hair. We clean up the section of hair that that extension came out of, clean it up, and then put it right back in. The last method of extensions that we're going to install today is our fusion extensions. For our fusion extensions, we need our fusion hair. We also need our melting connector, which is used to fuse the extension into the hair. We also need our Pro Disc, which is used to protect the scalp from the heat of the melting connector. It is also used to keep the little flyaways of hair down so that they don't get attached in with the extension. Then for our removal, all we need is our Keratin Bond Remover. It's an alcohol-based remover which is used to break down the bond in the hair for easy removal of the fusion extensions. Okay, so let's go ahead and install. The first thing that we're gonna do is make a nice clean part line in the hair. Again, making sure that all of the hair is a nice clean section with no strays. Then we're gonna go ahead and take our Quick Pick parting tool and use it to part the section of hair. Our parting for our section of hair is very similar to that for an I-tip extension. We're gonna take about 1/4 of an inch wide by 1/4 inch deep section of hair to start with. Again, we wanna make sure that the section that we're working with is equal in density to the section of the extension that we're going to apply to it. If they're not, then we can take more hair and add it to our section. Just keep in mind that we would want to make that section longer and not wider. Same rules as the I-tip extension. So if we need to add a little bit more and increase our density of that section, we can. So once we have our section of hair, then we're going to apply our Pro Disc, making sure that it is applied in the center of the circle of that disc. We want to make sure that the top part of that circle is at the bottom part of our section. Again, maintaining an off-base placement. We don't want any waterfalls or that hair to come out away from the scalp, causing over-direction. So we want to make sure that it lays totally flat before we apply the extension. Now, as we get ready to apply the extension, remember, this is our most flexible or most customizable extension. So we can adjust this bond and customize this bond as we see fit. We can cut it down in length. We could also cut it in half and make 2 separate extensions, making it a very thin, small bond to apply to very thin, fine hair. Since our mannequin doesn't have that really thin, fine hair, we're just going to use it as a whole bond. So we take that hair and without creating elevation in it, we're going to keep it as flat as we possibly can. We're going to take that extension and apply it so that it's away from that circle just slightly. We don't want it to be too close to the scalp so that when we apply our melting connector, we are burning the scalp. After we get it applied, we're going to take the melting connector and we're going to just gently press over the top of that bond. It will melt into the hair. Once it melts, then we're simply going to take that section and roll it around, encasing the entire section of hair that we are working with and making it a nice circular section. We want to make sure that we roll the top and completely close the top off so that water can't get down on the inside. It also keeps it a little bit softer so that when the client lays down, it's not poking them in the scalp. So once that's completely attached to the hair, then we're all finished. We simply slide off the Pro Disc and make sure that that's laying nice and flat in the hair. For the removal of our fusion extensions, all we do is simply take our keratin bond remover. It's an alcohol-based bond remover. We apply it to the bond of the hair. We're gonna allow that to sit for between 30 and 60 seconds. Then we take our Luxe tool, which is the same tool that we used for the removal and installation of our I-tip extensions. If you notice, on this tool, there is a grooved part of the tool that is made specifically to remove the fusion extensions. So all we do is use that part of the tool to break down the bond that's in the hair. So we take that tool, place the bond inside of that grooved part, and then we simply press it down. We're gonna press it the full length of the bond. Then we're also going to take that hair and turn it onto its side and press it down the full length of the bond again. We're gonna do this a couple of times to break through that bond and to loosen it thoroughly from the hair. Because of them being the most permanent type of extension, we need to make sure that it's completely broken down before we try to remove it from the hair. Otherwise, we can pull out the client's hair and cause some breakage. So once we feel like we've broken that bond down enough, then we simply grab a hold of the extension, holding on to the client's hair, and pull. If it doesn't come free, then all you need to do is put the bond back into that grooved part and repress and pull again slightly until it loosens from the hair. We want to make sure that it's totally loose before we pull it out as to not cause any breakage to the client's hair. So once it's out of the client's hair, then you're ready to clarify the client's hair and reinstall a new batch of hair. Now you've seen how to install one weft and one strand for each one of our methods. For more detailed information and for our online courses and education, don't forget to check us out at www.babethings.com, where you can see a full head application for each method from start to finish. Also, it will go over tips and tricks on how to make those look the best they can. One of the questions that we get asked by stylists is how much they should charge when installing extensions. I'm going to give you a breakdown or average of the cost of extensions across the United States. We always recommend that you charge the client for the cost of the extensions up front. Some stylists do choose to charge the client more than what they pay for the cost of the hair. That would be up to you. So the average for the stylist across the United States for the tape-in hair is approximately $6 to $12 per weft. There are 10 wefts per package for the tape-in extensions, which means that you're going to charge an average of between $60 and $120 per package for the installation of the tape-in extensions. Now, most commonly, you're going to use between 4 and 6 packages of tape-in hair on a full head application per client. For our I-tip or our fusion extensions, the average across the United States is approximately $5 per strand. There are 20 strands per package, which means that you're going to charge an average of $100 per package. Now, for each client, you're going to use approximately between 5 and 7 packages of our I-tip or fusion extensions. As you can see, if you do the math, that equates to a large number of revenue for your bottom line in the salon. We have shown you how exciting and easy hair extensions can be. We've also shown you how you can increase your bottom line in the salon. Thank you so much for taking the first step with your education towards hair extensions. We encourage you to check us out at www.babethings.com for our online education and courses to take the next step in furthering your education for hair extensions. By completing our online education, you can become a certified Babe stylist, which gives you access to emails and promotions from Babe. It also lists you on our website as a certified stylist so that when new clients or customers are looking for somebody that specializes in Babe, you're one of the first people to pop up on the list. Thanks everybody, I hope you have a wonderful hair day.